Hello, I'm Jenelle. Welcome back to the Inspiring Lit TV channel. I am going to be joined soon in this chair by Mario, my partner, who is going to be a guest on the channel today as we talk about the birth story. We've had our baby girl and it didn't quite go as we had expected it to. So there's a lot to unpack, and literally just as we were about to hit record, she woke up. So Mario is just going to put a little new outfit on her and bring her out here to potentially join us. We'll see how we go. We might have to film this in stages. But first of all, so she's 7 weeks old now. And what I'm saying is we are newly minted parents. So you might want to go ahead and adjust your resolution. There's a fly. Ugh. Feel free to go ahead and adjust your resolution down because I know I look real tired. Don't know, I can't speak for Mario, but I am personally happy for you to drop the resolution. This fly has been here since Wednesday. It is Sunday. It's driving me crazy. Go away. Sorry, I'll try not to get distracted by that. It's on the camera. Great. He can be my camera guy. Anyways, Mario will be joining me and I have a bunch of questions to go through. How did I feel post-birth on a psychological level? So I actually spoke to my psychologist a couple of days after on the phone as well. And she had no context of what had happened, but I just ran her through the story and I told her the story of the birth. And she was like, Jenelle, you've taken like what happened in such a positive way. You should stick to that story and not reinvent a new story. So I think I have stuck to that. So I guess in the days after and the weeks after, I just stayed positive and I stayed really proud of Navy and Mario, and just felt like what happened was out of our control and like it was a miracle and we had the best outcome completely. And I'm just so happy. She's just, I couldn't be happier. So I stuck with that story. Does she have blue eyes like you? Yes, she has blue eyes in me so far. They're like a deep, darker blue. Greyish, bluish, navy blue at the moment. Will you still want another baby after this one, and what would you do differently? I do, yes. I want to have the time with Navy, but I also want to have another one. Maria's just come back.
Got 20 minutes, make it happen.
Okay. This is the last question, but we'll backtrack. Will you still want a baby after this one, and what would you do differently?
Yes, and we'll do differently. Or maybe now that we know more of how you are during childbirth, maybe we'll have a better plan for that.
They say for the second one it will be quicker as well, so it could be like 2 hours.
Oh, real quick. Oh, then we don't need anyone, I'll just do it.
What were the things that the midwives say? C1, teach one. No, C1, do one, teach one?
No, it's no, C1, do one, teach one, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So Mario is basically a midwife. Okay, we'll go back to the beginning. I don't know what order I'll be sharing this in. Maybe I'll actually share in order. So thank you, Mario, for joining me. We have a very short window when Navy is down for a sleep. Thank you for settling her and putting her down. We can see her on the monitor here, so she's all watched and looked
Can you do
up.
my singing from them?
I could kind of hear something, but I was talking. So we're going to get stuck into the birth Q&A. If you missed our pregnancy Q&A, that's up on the channel. Thank you very much to everybody who watched that and enjoyed it. It was really fun for us to make. This time, as I said, we're newly minted parents, so we don't have a cheese board or anything fancy in front of us. We're just going to blitz through this while she sleeps and see how we go. So before I get into that, we should probably just go over the facts of how she arrived. The facts are the facts are these. We never made it to the birth centre. She was born here at home. We ended up being on the phone to 000, which is emergency services. Discovered that she was breech, feet first. And obviously I had no medication, and my intention was to be in the birth pool as my pain relief.
Your new swimsuit and everything.
I know. I got like a cute little one from Kmart. The cheapest one I could find because I stingy. Oh, I'm too loud. So it didn't work out that way at all, but I think we did pretty well considering. So the first question is, what circumstances caused her to be born at home? So essentially, we had for a while, because I was 40 weeks and 3 days when she came, for a while there we'd been doing this like ritual of each night we were like doing all kinds of things like hypnobirthing tracks, meditation. We had low lighting. I was like bouncing on the ball, doing acupressure points, doing the spinning babies positions, all kinds of stuff like that. So we were in the zone for that night as well. And we'd also been to the acupuncturist, and he'd said it will happen within 48 hours. And this was kind of going to be like, he was so right, it was almost dead on 48 hours. Shy of an hour and a half or something, because our appointment was at 9 a.m. I gave birth at 7:30.
Yeah, and then we were doing things to try and relax you as well, and like going to the movies and going to the park and things like that.
Yeah, that was so nice. We had a really good week of like extra dates, or not a week, but a few days of extra dates and stuff that was unexpected. But yeah, so by the night we'd done that, gone to bed about 10ish, and before I'd gone to bed, I'd felt like it's on. I know that it's on. It was in pre-labor. I could feel things that were different. And yeah, so I just expected it to happen. And they said to sleep as long as you can to build up that reserve, because like friends of ours had 24-hour labor and stuff like that. So we went to bed. I remember getting up to pee at like midnight, so a couple hours in, and I was like, ooh, it's improved. Like it's not improved, it's progressed. Improved. No,
more serious.
It's gotten a lot more serious. And so I went back to bed, and then I woke up again at 2:30 in the morning, and I was like, oh, wow, it's very different now. Like, this is serious.
But you didn't come across like that when you woke up. You just said, I think it's more serious now. I had just woken up because you were making noise.
I thought I was trying to wake you.
You didn't make it sound like it was real serious.
Okay. Yeah. I thought, okay, so about 2:30ish, I tried being on all fours. Try to be on all fours because, we might have to resume this later. Okay, I get back.
I think we're talking about intensity, like waking up at 2:30.
Oh yeah, so the intensity had gotten stronger, and I just ended up going on all fours to see if that felt better. And then I was like, okay.
Well, I think we ran through every position one we could do in the book in the end when you were going through pains.
Overall, yeah. But initially, I just was like, okay, this feels better on all fours. But I was on the bed and I was like, okay, in between, it could be like 10 minutes or it could be longer. So just lie back down and see how you go. And then the second one came pretty quickly afterwards, and I was like, nope, can't lie down on my side. This is not comfortable anymore. And then I was like, I thought I was trying to wake you to be like, just a heads up that it's starting to be more intense, and not to like suddenly wake you and be like, I'm about to give birth.
That warning never came until it was on.
It was on. And then like, so we there's a bit of footage that I can cut in here, that because we'd intended to film the birth, and Mario filmed like a tiny snippet or two, and you can see the way that I was laboring was, we'd done hypnobirthing, so I was breathing through. I was just listening to the tracks and trying to stay as calm as possible. And you can see in that footage that I have a contraction and I was basically silent and kind of still.
Boom. There we go.
I have prepared for this moment.
Contractions are coming along.
Okay, we're about to have another one.
I look forward to giving birth and meeting my baby for the very
Where is my
time. I can do anything for 1 minute, especially when I am relaxed. My body cannot create what I cannot handle. The surges are not happening to me, but they are a part of me.
There you go. Just breathing through.
When I am soft and relaxed, my surges pass more quickly and effortlessly.
Good job. Yeah.
And yeah, we tried a lot of different positions to kind of get the be more comfortable.
I think it was difficult to gauge as well, because during all the classes and courses that we did as well, they said there'd be a transition from early labour to when it was actually progressing to next labour. And because Jenelle was quiet during most of it and wasn't really giving off any sounds of pain or showing that she was in that much pain, it was difficult to gauge the level that she was at. So I think that was kind of different to what we had thought was going to happen. And being your first birth and being the only two people that are there, it's really difficult to kind of judge where you're at. Generally.
For me as well, I didn't know how much more painful it was going to get or how different it would be. So I was like, okay, it's probably going to get a lot worse. So just like stay as chill as possible.
So we had called the midwife a few times.
Yeah, we called her at 4:40 or something.
It was called, I don't know if we called a bit earlier than that as well.
Unless you rang on your phone, because I looked at the records on mine.
Yeah, I rang on my phone, I think.
Oh, okay.
We called 3 or 4 times that day.
Right. Because I remember being like, when we called at 4:40, I remember thinking like, I've already been doing this for so long that it feels more intense. And I was thinking, I don't know how I'm going to get in the car and go through this now and be in the car for like half an hour or whatever to get to the birth centre. And then she was like, stay home longer. And I couldn't articulate that. I was like, oh my God, what?
The reason being that the contractions were, although they were getting close, and at some points I think they were 3 minutes apart, they weren't consistent. There was like gaps, there were larger gaps in between contractions, and they would come back again. So it was either down to there being less contractions or maybe being in breech in the end, not engaging the contractions as many times, or it was just that Jenelle wasn't letting on when there were additional contractions. So it's not like in the movies where you see them yelling and going on every time a contraction came through. Jenelle was quiet the entire time. And even when between the contractions we were supposed to have a break, she didn't really have a break, so she wasn't really communicating in that period as well. So it was really hard to kind of like gauge how far it was going to be.
Yeah, because in between I had this like full pain in my back, which was where the midwife, remember she said, oh, it sounds like it could be posterior, which we'd like, that was in our heads that whole time. We were like trying to make sure she was in the like anterior position. But then also I had this like nerve pinching pain in between like my groin.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my gosh, so in between those surges, I was also just, I couldn't speak. It was so painful. I was just like, I can't even. So yeah, but then basically what happened, we like the midwife said have a shower to try doing that for pain relief, and we were in there for only about 10 minutes because you didn't want to.
I don't want to stall the birth, so I kept the timer on so I could see how long.
Yeah. And then we moved from one room to another just to see if I could because I was leaning over the bed and our bed is quite high. So we went to the guest room to see if that would be more comfortable. And yeah, then I remember basically, I think we were on the phone to the midwife at like 7 o'clock or 7, it was 7:30. And I was like, all of a sudden I just said it out loud. I feel the urge to push. And it was the first time I'd thought it even. And it just came out and it was just like, oh my gosh. And then I remember you and her saying, she was like, it'll be half an hour for me to get into the birth centre, get the stuff in the car and come now. And you looked at the traffic and I saw you on your phone and I was just like, and you were like, I think it'll take us an hour now because it was peak hour morning traffic. And I remember my mind just being like,
oh no.
We straight up don't have an hour. I was just like, holy moly. I couldn't even fathom how I would be in that much pain, that much discomfort, if you want to call it discomfort, in the car, let alone for an hour. So my first instinct was like, okay, go back to the bathroom and try and pee, because if I'm going to be in the car for an hour, I need to pee. I've been pregnant all this time. You pee every like 20 minutes. I couldn't sit to do that. And then and Mario was like taking the bags out to the car, and I
packed the 50 things Jenelle needed for a birth centre birth.
There's a video, or there's 2 videos on what I packed for the hospital. I packed everything in the kitchen sink.
Pesky worth of food.
Yeah, it was like so much food, because I had these like visions of us being in the birth pool for like hours and hours, and Mario feeding me like berries and stuff to give me energy, and carrot sticks, and so there was like an esky of food and snacks and all kinds of stuff. And yeah, I packed in case we had to end up being in the hospital for 5 days or something. I packed all the stuff. But yeah, so then basically I went from the ensuite, the 5 or 3 or 4 steps, to the edge of our bed, and my water broke and there was meconium in the water, and it just was like an explosion, and it kind of just went everywhere, and it just felt like, yeah, it just felt like a weird
just went
thing.
like in one fast.
No, before you came in that bit, the explosion part was like, and then it was coming down.
Yeah, and then it was just pouring out like a waterfall.
Oh my gosh. And I remember, because I hadn't really made any noise this whole time, and then I like tried to do one of those like really deep guttural sounds, like the breathing down, like the moo sounds that they talk about in the hypnobirthing class, and it came out like a that was the only noise I made. And then I think I was like, Mario, where are you? Because you were outside. And that was all I could manage to say. And he rushed in. And I don't know, I felt like you instinctively dove down to catch some of the stuff. You've
got to save the carpet. It's a new house.
Brand new house. Yeah, everything was getting like covered in stuff. But yeah, so then what happened next? I might let you tell. Hang on. Another question was, there is, because I was thinking this comes up. The next question was, how do you feel about?
I think it'd be more like, how did you manage?
How did you manage a breech birth on your own?
So then, after I came in and tried to grab the water with my hands, I noticed there was meconium in my hands as well. So it was like a lot of dark color. If you've ever seen it, it's like a dark tar that kind of like falls in your hand. So I knew something. From that point, I already knew something was wrong when that landed in my hand. So then called the midwife, but at the same time I went down to look to see what was happening, and then there were these there was like a white line that was visible, and I thought that might have been the umbilical cord that was underneath, so I was worried about that being there. But then I called the midwife, and as I was talking to the midwife, her foot pushed out more. So then after that,
so it was toes, not an umbilical cord.
It was toes, yeah. So it was the toes sticking out. They were just like really white dots. So then after that, we were talking through the midwife, and the midwife said to call the emergency services. So the emergency services get the ambulance on the way, and the emergency services would proceed to talk us through the birthing process, which they're really good at as they're talking through.
So good.
You could hear in both people's voice they were concerned, because breech births obviously it's a big deal, and a lot of hospitals won't broach doing a breech birth naturally. Normally it goes for a C-section. So he would explain to us that it was going to be difficult, and then we basically just had to work on it's like a gravity fed system. So we try to have as minimal contact as possible. Jenelle would squat down. Then at some point she squatted too far down where little Navy's feet were just standing on the floor, and then you had about an inch of leg hanging out, and then there was Jenelle. So we had to get Janelle to come up a bit more.
I do my deep squats, yo. I was like so in a deep squat. And actually I've been practicing for like weeks and weeks. Like I'd been dropping a deep squat throughout the day and like holding it. Even when I was brushing my teeth, I had like a timed, my toothbrush goes for 2 minutes. So I'd like sit in a deep squat for 2 minutes like every day. Like I was doing it a lot. So yeah, so I was in that squat position and too much. I had to squat higher.
So then Jenelle came up, and then it was basically she would just have to breathe through a stage. So I would be calling out to the ambulance officer which section, so I'd see that both feet would come out, and then I'd say that she was down to her hips, and then from her hips her stomach came out with her arms up in the air, and then it was a little longer than the other.
Or up, not in the air, like up.
Yeah, in Janelle's air.
It's not air.
So she was
her arms were up around her.
And then that probably was one of the longer parts, and then her arms popped out with the umbilical cord at the same time, and then the umbilical cord was wrapped underneath her arm here, so I had to grab the umbilical cord. So I don't think I told the emergency officer. I just quickly grabbed it and flicked it off because I saw it was holding her up. So move that out of the way, and then it's a very quick motion when they transition. So she'd be coming down with her body sort of side on all the way down, and then when she got to her head, the whole body flips quickly, and then her face turned to face me. So Janelle's facing away.
Wait, so she was posterior then? No, you saw her toes.
She was like side on because you've got to adjust for the way your body goes through.
Right.
Because your hips are going to go through this way,
okay,
and then your head, then the head turns again when they pass the next part.
Right. Okay.
So then she came down, and you could see her head just like poking through, and then
what was she up to? Like her lips or her nose?
She was probably here, but because the skin was stretched, you could see through the skin a bit, so you could see her face and her nose kind of. Yeah, because the skin was kind of stretched out, so you could see through there. And then,
cool.
Then after that, flopped out, so she probably had like about this much distance to fall.
Oh, really?
When she came down.
What? I thought I was squatting so low.
No, when she came out.
By then I was like overcompensating. Well, you were describing as she came out each stage, so I was able to like guess whether, or to gauge whether it would be likely to tear, and whether like when to hold off on the bearing down or pushing. So that was good because you were both describing what was happening and what to do. So I was able to like hold, and then I think I asked, can I like let go now and like let her come out for that last bit. But yeah, sorry. That was my part of it. I was just listening and breathing and just trying to...
Yeah, then she came out, just real floppy when she came out. And
placenta dropped straight out afterwards.
Placenta came out afterwards, and Jenelle turned around, and then she was on the floor with me as well.
Yeah.
So then we were just trying to get her to come to. So we were like rubbing on her chest. She ended up waking up in the end, let out a cry. So that was a big feeling of relief for both of us.
To be honest, I didn't want you to see how scared I was when I saw her like that, because that feeling of panic was just like, I didn't let that get to me, because I knew I'd felt her moving before that, and she'd been so active the whole time when she was in the womb, and I was like, she'll be fine. You know, like, I've seen this on TV. I don't know how real that is, but it has to be based on something.
Yeah.
But I'd seen them come out and look blue like that and be all floppy, and they revive them, and once they cry, you know that they're going to be okay.
Yeah, I think we're just like trying to be strong for each other, so then we both ended up looking like we were really calm when it was happening. But yeah, it's just like it's quite confronting to see, like when it first comes out.
It is, but also like, yeah, I mean, I didn't go 9 months to see this baby not come to life and go through that, like, so yeah. So, and then I was just like, okay, it's okay, Navy. Oh yeah, by the way, you said it a couple of times as well, and I think one of the questions is, how did you come about the name? We didn't introduce that earlier, but her name is Navy, Navy Jeanette Recchia. So she was born right then and there, and yeah, Do you have any more to?
Oh, it's the ambulance officers came straight after she was born. So after she finished crying.
Yeah, after she'd cried. And they rushed in with the towel and like revived her, and
they were wiping her off.
Yeah, wiping her off. So much for like preserving the vernix. She was just covered in stuff, so that was not a thing. And then like the umbilical cord, we didn't need to cord clamp because it was like white already. So that was
cord clamped it to cut it, but you didn't need to.
Yeah. But
hold off on cord.
No, didn't need to delay cord clamping. Sorry. But yeah, okay. Let's move on to the next question then. How do you feel about accidentally free birthing? I think they mean by that like medication free. I was planning to be medication free, and I even went and spoke to one of the.
Was that like free birthing and doing it by yourself?
Could be. Well, I went and spoke to them about what the epidural was and how it would go with my scoliosis, and that was fine. And they were like explaining it and stuff, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to. And so, yeah, in terms of the medication thing, I was hoping that we would have the experience of giving birth in the water, and that at the birth centre would be
relaxing spa day.
Yeah. Okay. My expectations would be more realistic than that. But yeah, so in terms of that, I guess like I got what I wanted, a non-medicated birth. And if I had have gotten to the birth centre earlier, they would have sent us straight up to the hospital for an emergency C-section, and I would have been totally out of my control of anything that happened. So yeah. And what was the other thing that you thought it meant?
Just being by yourself, maybe? Not assisting people?
Oh, yeah, I mean, if we were to do it again.
If you're going to home birth, you definitely want someone else, because having one person is very difficult, especially if you don't know where all the towels went. So we had moved into a new house, and Jenelle...
The laundry isn't done yet.
Jenelle doesn't like to just leave stuff out, so she had found creative ways to pack everything away. But it meant when we needed a bunch of clean towels, it was very hard to find.
They were under the bed that I was leaning on to give birth on. Or there were some of them in the car packed ready to go.
Yeah, on the seat in case her water broke on the chair.
Oh my goodness.
And then
so the ambulance officers were just grabbing anything and everything they could find, like our Missoni towels, and I think
a robe. I think they grabbed a robe.
A robe and some other new sheets that we just
like your expensive clothes is in the other room.
Yeah, like it was just all like, I remember being like, dollar. No. I did not have time to think about that. But yeah, well, we were fortunate that your family, you called your family and they came straight away and cleaned for the entire day, and I didn't have to come home to...
That's what my family got to see first before they got to see Navy, was the afterbirth situation.
They got to see stuff everywhere. Sorry if you're squirmish.
But like crime scene.
I mean, like, even they cleaned for like a full day and night, and yet I still saw blood on the like door of the bathroom or the ensuite. Like,
it was still on the carpet and stuff as well.
I mean, it was. They ended up being like back and forth throughout that week or the next couple of days, and carpet cleaning and cleaning the side of the bed and stuff like that. But yeah, so
it's all clean now.
It is all clean now. It looks like nothing ever happened.
Navy just sleeps right next to where she came into the world.
Yeah, she was. And yeah, so if you home birth, don't do it the way we get a midwife, get a doula, have a extra person on hand who can refill a water bottle or like anything. Just turn off the lights or something like.
Just the case of like trying to go to the toilet when somebody else is like in pain and you need to try and walk away at the same time.
I remember being like, okay, he's still going. I can hear you.
Listen, just 30 minutes.
All right, next question. How long did you stay in hospital? Okay, so then the ambulance came. They took me the first day, all 4 ambulance officers, so the 2 of them rocked up. We were very, very lucky. All 4 of them watched me shower off the blood, and then you came and helped me get the last bits off. No one helped me with that was a difficult thing. Baby. Yeah, they were all having turns holding the baby, because like I think the way that the guy explained it to me was that if you get a call for a home birth, that is very scary for a paramedic, and it can be amazing and be the best day ever and one story that you go on to tell for years, or the worst day ever. And it really is like they were all scared. So then when they got there and she was like alive and well and happy and we were all doing perfectly well, they all were taking turns holding her. And
just like put all the prep work in to make sure that it was as safe as it could have been. To preparing your body for it and making sure that
that all came down to
easiest
it.
travel there.
Yeah.
Because if your pelvis is all the wrong way, or if you weren't already prepared for what was going to be happening, then I think it probably would have been a very different case. Because pretty much
totally.
if you panic, that's when something starts going wrong.
Yeah, like the fact that I was calm, and I think the hypnobirthing really helped, but like staying calm like that the whole way through, breathing through it, being in that state of mind and not letting myself freak out.
That's probably something I would change. Maybe I should have spent more time doing the calming hypnobirthing practice.
Yeah, because I was meditating 2 or 3 times a day.
I did pretty good.
You did very well.
Staying calm in the time.
Yeah. But I was also thinking stay calm for Mario, because he's the one that's down there now as well. Yeah. So the prep work does account for a lot of things. Going to the chiropractor, making sure my pelvis was in the right position all the time. I was going once a week towards the end there. Understanding and doing so much research, so much of that helped us to understand what was going to happen, and like not just go with the flow, but completely understand what was happening and know what might happen and stuff like that, because being prepared like that was so invaluable. Yeah. Okay.
I think you got most of them. Did you already do the one about psychology?
Yeah, I did that one. So we didn't, how long did we stay in hospital? So then we got in the ambulance, drove down to the hospital with them, and we were home again. We were allowed to go home at like 3 o'clock. So I would have gotten there about 9 or 10 by the time they like,
Probably closed at 9 or 8:30. I don't think it was that late.
Okay. So I remember the ambulance ride being really long because the traffic was intense.
It did take a long time. I was here for 15 minutes before I left to come to you, and they only got there just before I got there.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it felt like a really long ride. And like the guy was like pushing down to get extra blood out and check that I was okay. Okay, sorry. You might have to cut that part out. Yeah, so no, we were there in the morning about 9 o'clock and had all of the checks done. And basically I think we spent most of the day waiting for the pediatrician and the hearing check person to come down to the birth centre from the hospital and check on Navy. But then we were able to go home either at 3 o'clock, but we ended up going home at 4:30 p.m. So we were there for basically 9 till 4:30, and then we were home that night. What was the name inspiration? There we go. So her name is Navy, and we found it much easier to look for boys' names, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
And we've got like a few up our sleeve in case we have a boy. But yeah, so girls' names, I was like running through, like other people call their babies Sage or Mint or, you know, Violet, or like all these names that are color-based, Olive, etc. And then I was looking at like herbs and flowers and all that kind of stuff. And then I thought, what colors do we really love that we haven't really heard of as a name? And Navy just felt like the right name. And then I said it to you and you liked it?
Yeah, I said, okay.
And it feels like from the beginning, from like week 12 or whatever, when we found out that it was a girl, we called her Navy and spoke to her as Navy. And
then we just kept it a secret for the entire time until she was born.
Which everybody hated.
I think I slipped up twice and Jenelle slipped up once.
But Navy and baby sound really similar, so nobody picked up on it. And even like when we tell people sometimes the name, they're like, what? Navy, as in the color. Yes, it's spelled Navy. That was the inspiration. And the second name is Jeanette, which is my Nana's name. And Yeah, that'd be...
It's like, oh, no.
Mario's parents have just rocked up and they're in the garage and you can just see them eating snacks or something in there.
Just waiting for us to wrap up.
Yeah, so...
Just to touch on it, just because I think Jenelle already spoke about how did you feel post-birth psychologically. I think I'm just on my part as well, just for other dads. A lot of the time, I think birth is really centered around the mum and the baby, which it has to be, but there is always a second person. And I think after the birth, it's like a traumatic event, so I did struggle a lot. There would be every week anything would set me off and I would start crying, or I would just start crying for no reason. And I think the fact that I acknowledged that it wasn't right or wasn't okay, that I would share with as many people as I could. I'd share my story, I'd share how I'm feeling, and I think that's part of it that's helped me with my recovery as well. I'm not fully recovered by any means, but I think by doing that and talking to people and being open and using avenues out there, I used a helpline, and Beyond Blue I called, and the lady, although it wasn't exactly what they focus in, she really helped me understand the situation, and she spent a lot of time with me and gave me more resources. And I've gone out and speak to many friends and other friends that were not in similar situations, but being new parents and being through some more stressful moments as well. And I was just thinking that it's just really important to try reach out for as much as you can. Like, they might not always feel like there's a resource for you, and you want to make sure that mama and baby are number one and that they're taken care of. You just got to realize you can't take care of them if you're not taking care of yourself. And I think once I realized that, and then also at a point me and Jenelle talked about the birth, because we hadn't talked about it for a few days afterwards.
I think it was more than a week.
Yeah, after that point we were able to talk about it, and I could get more understanding on how Jenelle felt about it. I think it took some of the burden off me, because it's very easy for you to blame yourself for a lot of things. And feel, what if it's if I did this? What if it's if I saw this? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I see this? Where you've got to realize that it's just sometimes the situation is out of your control, and it's the way that you handle it that's the important part. It's not what the situation is. And I think that's something that we came through really well, and everyone's really impressed with the way that we got through the situation and we handled it as well.
Do they say that only 3% of births in Australia are breech vaginally?
I'm not sure on the exact stats, but it was something small.
Something was 3%.
It was a very small stat. So, yeah.
So, in terms of like, even when we've been in the hospital since then, because we had a bit of a...
Unfortunately, we won't add to the hospital stat because we're at a job.
No.
So.
Yeah, that's true. But like, when we were at the hospital on the days following, because we ended up having to go into emergency, which I can cover in another video. Yeah, like even talking to the nursing staff, they would be like, I just read what happened with the birth, and whoa. So many people have been like, whoa, like, what, how did that even, like, how did you guys, this just does not happen. So the fact that like we have Navy and we went through that whole thing, it is a miracle and it feels amazing. Like, I thank my lucky stars every single day that I get to spend with her, that, yeah, things could have been so different, and I don't want to think about what those other things could have been, but I just feel so happy, and I'm grateful to you as well, as to her and to us for preparing. And just in terms of talking about for the dad's perspective, the hypnobirthing course, I remember being like, oh, is this going to be too much money for us to spend on? Will Mario go for it? Because it can potentially sound kind of woo-woo if you think like, what is this? But the information that we got out of doing that course as well was so invaluable to you, and you were more passionate about like knowing and letting your friends know about what interventions there could be offered to them in the hospital systems that they needed to know about, or all kinds of things like that. It really impacted. Okay, it just cut out, but I was just saying that, and the hypnobirthing course and doing research really empowered you to understand what was going to happen and to be prepared. And that is one way that I think that dads can have more of that knowledge and be more part of the birth process.
Being more of an advocate and
yeah,
helping out and being the voice, which...
Oh, that was so valuable because in the end I couldn't speak. So for Mario, if we had have been in the hospital or if we had have been anywhere else, Mario would have had to speak for me because I was in so much pain I couldn't speak. Discomfort. say discomfort. God, that fly. But yeah, so this was a lot less fun than the pregnancy Q&A video. So if you want a more funny video, check that one out. But this was a bit more like to unpack and more serious. If you do have any more questions, let me know in the comments below and I will answer them in the other videos that I'm intending to film on birth prep and postpartum stuff, and probably more so because I don't have that much postpartum stuff to talk about. Newborn must-haves and things that have been helpful for us and stuff like that. And then I've got a nursery tour to film as well. So there's like a bit of a pregnancy and baby series coming to the channel with more episodes. And if you want to see Mario again, please let us know. Thank you so much for jumping on and doing this with me. And I know that it's like a big ask as well because I want to respect you and what you've gone through. And
I think you went through more, but
well, I went through more.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole time I was like, I got my baby. It wasn't what I was thinking it was going to be, but I got my baby and I can see her on the monitor. Oh, she's
waking up.
It is time. Get those grandparents in and we're going to have cake because it's Mario's sister's birthday. So
Well, thanks everyone for watching.
Yes, thank you for watching and stay tuned for more videos. And as I said, drop comments and questions in the comments below. Like and subscribe and turn on that notification bell and all that YouTube stuff. Join me on Instagram at InspiringWit or my blog, which is inspiringwit.com. And thank you very much. Much love.
Woo. We'll wrap it up.